Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. We have another big episode for you this week. Commander Masters previews have been going on, and they're starting to impact card prices in a big way. Some cards are dropping because they've already been previewed officially. Others still haven't been number crunched out yet, but players are just staying away from them. But there's also some hot cards spiking that are buried among all these falling cards. Again, our threshold today is $2. All the cards you see will be moving at least $2 up or down. And before we get started, a couple of things. I do want to say thank you to some of the viewers. ALPAL8319, Carl's Everything Nerdy, Leaf Lorian, Thomas Wright, and Todd Branch all gave super thanks tips for last weekend's video. Thank you all for those tips. They help the channel immensely. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your support. A lot of these names, you see them every week too. Thank you to each and every one of you. And one other reminder, if you go to FlipsideGaming.com, you can use the Heroes promo code to save 10% on orders over $10. Currently, you can pre-order Commander Masters products there. They also now have Wilds of Eldraine open for pre-order too. Plus, there's a whole lot of other things on their website. Remember, if your order is over $100 or consists only of singles, shipping will be free in the United States. Also, whenever you use the Heroes promo code, it does support the channel, which is always appreciated, so thank you. And without any further ado, let's get into it. We'll begin with the Standard Legal Spotlight. These are the Standard Legal cards moving the most this week. We only have one. It's kind of a weird one. It is a Plains, but not any Plains. It's the one you see on the screen specifically from Battle Royale. It's going up 357 this week to 657. Sometimes this happens if one type of a hard-to-find basic land is bought out online. Someone may have been trying to pick these up for a deck, and some players prefer white border basic since they stand out when you fetch. This will go back down when more copies of this card return to the marketplace. And that quickly takes us to the Pioneer Legal Spotlight. Okay, here's where the action begins. Let's jump in and see what's happening. Cyclonic Rift from Return to Ravnica goes down 202 this week to 3406. This gets a little modern play in Mono Blue Tron, but you know this to be a huge commander card in tons of decks, old and new, but it is moving down since we now know that it is going to be reprinted in Commander Masters. The Immortal Sun from Rivals of Ixalan goes down 203 this week to 2185. This is a solid commander card, and it may be good tech against the upcoming Commander Masters Planeswalker Party commander deck, but it is moving down since we know now it is being reprinted for the first time in Commander Masters. Brazen Borrower. This is the copy from the list. It goes down 210 this week to 2330. This particular copy retracts this week after some recent increases. It is still a highly played card in Modern and Legacy, plus it gets a little commander play too. Combat Celebrant from Amonkhet. This goes down 213 to 868. Big commander card that is cool now since it was just reprinted for the first time in the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Riders of Rohan commander deck. Finale of Devastation from War of the Spark down 218 to $40. Another big commander card, but it also sees play in a modern deck that is gaining momentum in this new meta that was influenced by Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. That deck is Asmo Food. Why is this moving down then? Well, it's being reprinted in Commander Masters. The Great Henge from Throne of Eldraine down 234 this week to 5317. Another solid commander card, but not only did this just get reprinted in the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth Realms and Relics subset, but we're going to see it again in Commander Masters. Yes, it has been officially revealed. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx from Theros down 288 to 3176. So this is played in Pioneer, and you do see this in one of the biggest decks of the meta there, Nykthos Ramp. It is also a big commander card, especially for monocolor builds. It has been cooling off a little bit recently though, after some jumps that occurred earlier in the year when many were trying to build Pioneer Nykthos Ramp. The big reason it's moving down as much as it is though this week is because it has not officially been previewed for Commander Masters, but at time of recording it hasn't been number crunched out of the set yet either. Some players are just steering clear of this card in case it does appear there. Indomitable Creativity is down $3 to $25. Similar story here. This card jumped a lot earlier this year as many players wanted to build Pioneer and Modern Indomitable Creativity decks. Now it is retracting some. It only sees a tad bit of commander play, so this is a card that could ebb and flow with future Pioneer and Modern meta changes. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger from Battle for Zendikar. It's down $3.16 this week to $36. This was reprinted not too long ago in the Just Add Milk Secret Lair, but now we know this is going to see another reprinting in Commander Masters. It does get a good amount of Modern, Legacy, and Commander play though, and it may be a good upgrade to the Commander Masters Eldrazi Unbound Commander deck. Vorinclex Monstrous Raider from Kaldheim goes down $3.31 this week to $45.32. This is a solid Commander card that is in many builds, including attracts a Praetor's Voice at times, but the card did jump a lot when that strategy was getting a lot of support a few months ago, so it's not too strange to see this retraction. Also, it was reprinted as one of the concept Praetors in Phyrexia All Be One. Aside from that, this still hasn't been number crunched out of Commander Masters at time of recording. That could be another reason why it is so soft. Emrakul, the Promised End, down $3.57 this week to $37.99. This gets some Modern and Legacy play, but not as much as it used to. Still gets some Commander play too, but even though we know now that it is not in Commander Masters, it has been crunched out, there is still a chance this appears in the Eldrazi Unbound Commander deck. Put it all together and this is down some this week. Mana Confluence from Journey to Nyx, down $4.50 this week to $33.83. This sees a little Modern play, but it is a big mana-based card for Pioneer and Commander. It is seeing some retraction though after some significant jumps earlier this year, and this has not been number crunched out of Commander Masters yet at time of recording. And the last card moving down in this section today is Cauldron Familiar, down $8.06 to $6.25. This is the Jumpstart copy. Now last week you might remember this copy as well as the Throne of Eldraine copy jumped aggressively. This one more so even than Throne of Eldraine. And that spike encouraged players to go through their collection, find some of these cards to sell, try to make the hobby pay for itself a little bit. It also encourages stores to go and list copies that they may have in inventory but maybe didn't put online yet. This isn't too unusual. All the extra copies then that hit the marketplace lead to a retraction, especially for this one considering it is designated a common. So why did this jump to begin with? Well, this combos with a new card from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, Samwise Gamgee. Those two cards together combo with Viscera Seer, and we're seeing them show up in Modern Asmo Food together, as well as Lonis Cryptozoologist builds. Those Lonis builds are also running a couple other new cards from Lord of the Rings, Delighted Halfling and the Shire. Beyond that though, Cauldron Familiar is also seeing a boost in Commander play as well thanks to Lord of the Rings. A lot of players want this to upgrade the new Food and Fellowship Commander deck. It's in fresh builds around a number of cards from that product too, and it's in Commander builds around another new card from the main set as well, Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. Last card in this section is moving up. It is Kiora, Best the Sea God. It's up $3.36 to $16.59. This saw a little Commander play in different builds, including Kiora, Sovereign of the Deep, for example, but now it is seeing a lot more Commander play thanks to Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Many players are getting this for their Saga builds around Tom Bombadil from there, and to a lesser degree I have seen this in some Goldberry River Daughter decks. But Tom is the real catalyst here, although this card was mentioned on the Command Zone podcast this week as a card you might want to play with Goldberry River Daughter, so that might have brought some more attention to it too. And that's going to bring us to the Modern Legal Spotlight. So what Modern Legal cards are moving the most this week? Quite a few, a lot of them moving down. Let's see what's happening. Gemstone Caverns from Time Spiral Remastered. It's down $201 to $49.99. So this card has been hot since it's been getting a ton of Modern play, a good amount of Commander play too, but it was just reprinted. You can find this in the Realms and Relics subset from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, which has caused previous copies to cool off, and at time of recording, this still has not been number crunched out of Commander Masters. Stoneforge Mystic from World Wake. It goes down $206 to $27.94. Last week we saw the double Masters copy dropping. This card gets a good amount of Modern, Legacy, and Commander play, but it was reprinted earlier this year in the Artist Series Rebecca Gay Secret Lair. This card, however, has been number crunched out of the main set of Commander Masters. Ren and 6. This is the one from the list. It goes down $212 this week to $55.81. This gets a little Vintage and Commander play, but a ton of Modern play. It's even in some popular decks there like Omnith builds and Indomitable Creativity, but the card has been soft ever since its reprinting in Double Masters 2022 last year. Oboro, Palace in the Clouds from Saviors of Kamigawa, down $213 to $55. This is a Modern mill and it gets a little Commander play, but the reason the card has been expensive for as long as it has been, because for a very long time it was just never reprinted. At least until recently. It's in the Realms and Relics subset from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Aragorn and Arwen Wed, down $221 to $404. This is one of the foil cards that comes with the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth starter kit. Some are using this as a commander. Others are putting in the 99 in some builds old and new there. I've also seen it go into Food and Fellowship as an upgrade, but those starter kits are really starting to get out there in circulation. This card, as well as other cards from their product, are moving down this week. Sauron the Dark Lord. This is down $2.24 to $17. This is the #1 commander coming out of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth main set, and it's being used to upgrade the Host of Mordor commander deck too. Plus, you see this in the 99 and builds around cards from there and elsewhere, but as packs continue to get cracked and demand is satisfied, the price moves down. Skithiryx the Blight Dragon from the list remains cold. It goes down $2.32 to $12.94. Good commander card, but it was reprinted in the Multiverse Legends subset in March of the Machine, which has kept previous copies cool. Emrakul the Jans Torn from Rise of the Eldrazi down $2.37 to $21.52. Like Red and 6, copies of this card have been soft since its reprinting in Double Masters 2022. It does get a lot of play in Modern and Legacy. Windswept Heath from Khans of Tarkir down $2.38 this week to $22.10. These original 5-fetch lands had seen non-premium printings in Onslaught and Khans of Tarkir. Since it's been a very long time since Khans came out, many thought it could be time to see these reprinted, perhaps in Commander Masters. At the time of recording, all 5 of these lands have not been number crunched out yet, which means they're either in the set or Wizards is purposely holding spots open to make us think they're in the set. Part of me kind of wonders why they wouldn't just spoil these like right away at the beginning of the preview season, since you know these are going to sell boxes. And I do think with those 5 slots open, they're most likely in there, so either it was maybe a strange move from a marketing perspective, or there's something they don't want us to know yet. Maybe they're going to be mythic. That would be something, right? Anyway, that's all speculation. We'll have to see what happens in the coming days, but when it comes to gameplay, all these fetch lands see a ton of play in Modern, Legacy, and Commander. Some see more play than others in Vintage, but they have a presence there too. Training Grounds from Rise of the Eldrazi. This is down $2.52 to $13.24. Great commander card for certain decks, like Kenrith the Returned King, for example, but it was recently reprinted in March of the Machine, The Aftermath, which is why this copy is so soft. How about that? Another Khans fetch land moving down. Bloodstained Mire down $2.56 to $31.95. Yet another Khans fetch land, Wooded Foothills, down $2.66 to $33.33. However, the Onslaught copy of this one is moving up. You're going to see that in a few moments. Lotho Corrupt Sheriff, down $2.69 to $4.18. Last week, this was moving up, but again, as packs of Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth are open, these prices come down. The card was hot, though, because last week Aspiring Spike was streaming a modern Orzhov Lotho Corrupt Sheriff deck, and it did get a lot of attention. The card has also been seeing a lot of Commander play too, as some are getting its upgrade Food and Fellowship, while others are putting in fresh builds around cards from there and other places. Bilbo's Ring, down $2.75 to $7.75, another Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth starter kit card that is moving down as copies get out there. It is showing up in a number of new Commander decks though, and it is another good upgrade to Food and Fellowship. Sword of Fire and Ice from Darksteel. It's down $2.80 this week to $47.15. This gets some Modern and Legacy play. It's in Commander decks both old and new too, but it did get a bump recently when Wizards finished the Sword cycle with Sword of Once and Future. However, Commander players are now turning their attention to other things, and this card is still alive in the Commander Masters number crunch, so a lot of players are holding off. Tireless Provisioner, down $2.84 to $2.04. Now this is the copy from the Food and Fellowship Commander deck, and it is looking to find its price point, but I did warn you about this card last week. It is a highly played Commander card in lots of builds. Sure, it's in decks around cards from Food and Fellowship, but you also see this in a lot of other new decks. Remember though, the card was recently reprinted in the March of the Machine Tinker Time Commander deck, as well as the Q-to-Brute Secret Lair Commander deck. And it was just removed from the list subset with Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, but it was in 5 previous sets. There's just a lot of copies of this in circulation right now. Sauron the Lidless Eye. This is down $3.50 to $4.50, and this is the other foil card that comes with the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth starter kit. Some are using this as a commander. It's also showing up in other new builds there. Plus, I've seen it used to upgrade the Hosts of Mordor commander deck, but again, the price is dropping as the product gets into players' hands. Witch King of Angmar. This is down $3.58 to $11.45. Last week, Wraiths were all the rage, and they still are, but the new Wraiths are getting into circulation and prices are stabilizing. Some have been using this to upgrade the Hosts of Mordor or to add it to builds around cards from there, including Lord of the Nazgul. Plus, others are getting this to put in Food and Fellowship, while still others have been choosing it as a commander or putting it in other builds around cards from the main set. Delighted Halfling is down 360 this week to $17.99. This is already getting a good amount of modern play, a lot of commander play as well. It is a good upgrade to Food and Fellowship. It's in fresh builds around some cards from there too, as well as other places. But like a lot of these Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth cards, this is retracting as more packs are cracked. Doubling Season. The Ultimate Masters copy down 202 to 82.36. The Battle Bond copy is down 246 to $80.74. The Ravnica City of Guilds copy is down 437 to 81.17. You know this is a huge commander card in lots of decks, including some popular new ones. It's a good upgrade to Food and Fellowship, but it's still soft. Why? Because we know officially now that this is getting reprinted in Commander Masters. Nazgul. We talked a lot about this card last week. So it's an uncommon, but it has 9 different pieces of art, and it breaks the deck limitation rule. So you can have up to 9 of these in a deck. That extra demand made these cards shoot up in price, but now we are seeing signs of stabilization. These 3 copies are moving down. Let's look at how much. The one on the far right is down $3.21 to $14.25. The one in the middle down $4.26 to $15, and the one on the left down $4.55 to $14.89. It is a great upgrade to the Hosts of Mordor, and in fresh builds around cards from there, like Lord of the Nazgul again. It is also in a number of other commander builds, old and new. Galadriel Gift Giver, down $4.97 to $4.29. This is another card from the Lord of the Rings Starter Kit. It's a good upgrade to both Food and Fellowship as well as Elven Council. It's in fresh builds around cards from both of those decks, and it's in other builds in Commander old and new, but again, a lot of these are getting into circulation right now. Witch King, Bringer of Ruin. This is down $5.53 to $9.97. This is another Lord of the Rings Starter Kit card moving down as the product circulates. This one is a Wraith though. Many are getting it to upgrade the Hosts of Mordor, and it's in fresh builds around cards from there, again including Lord of the Nazgul, and it's in some builds around cards from the main set too. Academy Manufactor. This is the one from the March of the Machine Tinker Time Commander deck. It goes down $6.59 this week to $11.24. This, as well as the Modern Horizons 2 copy, were spiking aggressively recently. This one more so though. Again, once people saw the spike, they decided to throw some copies up there for sale, and you're seeing the retraction follow. Now, it did get hot recently due to the support for food tokens in Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, which led to this card seeing more modern play. It is in the Asmo Food and Lonus combo builds we mentioned earlier. It's also getting more commander play now too. Many are getting this to upgrade Food and Fellowship, others are putting it in fresh builds around cards from there, and it's in a variety of other commander decks, both old and new. Last card moving down in this section today is the One Ring. It's down $12.75 to $60. Out of the gate, this was the most expensive card from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, but packs are getting cracked and even this one is moving down. The card though is having a big impact on Modern already. It's showing up in many builds like Omnith decks, Mono Green Tron, and a lot of others. It's also getting some Legacy and Vintage play too, plus you guessed it, it's a popular card in Commander. Many are using it to upgrade Food and Fellowship and the Hosts of Mordor. It's in fresh builds around cards from those decks, and it's also in some Commander builds around cards from the main set too. Alright, first card moving up in this section is that Onslaught copy of Wooded Foothills I promised earlier. It's going up $2.24 to $74.99. Batwing Broom from Arch Enemies up $2.31 to $4.99. This only gets a tad bit of Commander play, but this copy of the card is hard to find in high grade online, and it did dip last week. This week it recovers some. Exquisite Blood. This is the Jumpstart copy of $2.62 to $33.24. Great Commander card and combo enabler, seeing more play now thanks to Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. This is a good upgrade to Food and Fellowship, and it's in fresh builds around some cards from there. Bilbo Birthday Celebrant, as well as the partner commanders Frodo Adventurous Hobbit and Sam Loyal Attendant. Also, this has been number crunched out of the Commander Masters main set. Breath of Fury. The Commander 2016 copy is up $2.75 to $10.99. The Ravnica City of Guilds copy is up $2.88 to $10.45. So this is getting increased commander play thanks to Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. It is a good upgrade to the new Riders of Rohan commander deck, and it's in fresh builds around AO and Shield Maiden from there. In fact, it was mentioned as a good upgrade to Riders of Rohan on the Command Zone podcast recently, which might have brought some attention to it. By the way, there's only one foil copy of this card. It is from Ravnica City of Guilds, and it's moving up this week too. It is up $22.23 to $41.20. Living End. The Time Spiral copy is up $2.20 to $12.26. The Time Spiral Remastered copy up $7.36 to $14.38. The Living End Modern deck is getting a boost from a couple new Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth cards, Generous Ent and Oliphant. Right now these decks are performing well in the evolving meta, and a lot of players are building them since they are good against the One Ring, which is in a number of modern builds now. This also sees a little commander play. In fact, I have seen some using this to upgrade the Host of Mordor, or put it in fresh builds around Sauron and Lord of the Rings, but modern is the key driver here. And the last card in this section today is Grief. Good grief, this is up $13.93 to $36.40. This sees a lot of modern play. It's in Rakdos mid-range and more, including the Living End build we were just talking about. In fact, both of those decks are good against the One Ring. Additionally, there's 4 copies of this in the Orzhov Lotho Corrupt Sheriff deck that Aspiring Spike was playing on stream last week, and this does get Legacy and Vintage play, also shows up occasionally in Commander. In Legacy, this is in those Reanimator decks that were recently pushed by Atraxa Grand Unifier. That deck may have softened the supply for this card. Now Modern, in particular Living Dead, is driving this spike. The premium versions of this card have really taken off in a big way this week too. Let's take a look. The borderless copies of 1616 to 4304, the pre-release foils up 2735 to 5959, the borderless foils up 3192 to 7450, and the regular foils up 3962 to $65. That's going to take us to our salute to all Eternal formats, but mostly Commander. This is the Eternal Spotlight. Now, of course, not all these cards are going to be legal in every Eternal format, but none of them are legal in Standard, Pioneer, or Modern. Demonic Tutor from Ultimate Masters, down 202 this week to 4260. Highly played Tutor in Vintage and Commander. Copies of this card have been hot recently, but now we know it's going to be in Commander Masters officially, so it's starting to cool off. Commander's Plate from Commander Legends, down $214 to $22. This was reprinted in the Heads I Win Tails You Lose Secret Lair Commander deck, and now we know officially it's getting reprinted in Commander Masters 2. It's a solid card in the Commander format though, it's in builds old and new. Plateau from Revised, down $217 to $346. Now this is not a big percentage decrease, but I think it's worth noting since these revised dual lands have been so turbulent since the announcement and subsequent release of the 30th anniversary edition. It does look like they may finally be settling into their new prices. You're going to see a few more in the video today that are moving up, but they're not swinging as widely as they have been. When it comes to gameplay, of course, they see play everywhere where they're legal. Humility, this is down $222 to $61.69. Many reserveless cards have been soft as a lot of speculators and resellers have been leaving collectible markets in general, and that includes Magic. This doesn't see as much play as it once did, but sometimes it does show up in a Commander build. Land Tax from Battlebond, down $224 to $32.99. Very good Commander card, but it is cold since we now know this too will be reprinted in Commander Masters. Arena Rector from Battlebond, down $226 to $17.39. This is retracting after some recent increases, and it doesn't see as much play as it used to, but it does get a little Commander play. Chrome Mox from Eternal Masters, down $230 to $67.90. Good Legacy and Vintage card, plus it's in Commander builds old and new, but it was reprinted recently in the Secret Lair 30th Anniversary Countdown Kit, and it has not yet officially been number crunched out of the Commander Masters main set yet. This card hasn't been number crunched out yet either. Vampiric Tutor from Visions. It's down $234 to $44.54. Great Vintage and Commander Tutor. Again, you see this in Commander builds old and new, but it was recently reprinted in Dominaria Remastered. Hermit Druid, the copy from the list, is down $246 to $13.44. This sees a little Commander play, but it is retracting after some recent increases. Maelstrom Wanderer. This is the Plane Chase Anthology copy, down $257 to $16. Solid Commander card. Also in the 99 of a bunch of builds, but we know this is going to be reprinted in Commander Masters, and it's even being downgraded from Mythic to Rare. Norwood Priestess, down $260 to $105.80, still has yet to be reprinted, gets a tad bit of Commander play, also not number crunched out of the Commander Masters main set quite yet. Grim Monolith, down $288 to $259.99, this is retracting after jumping the last couple weeks. It does see play in Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. Edgar Markov from Commander 2017. This copy only comes in foil. It goes down $297 to $65.43. Great Vampire Tribal Commander that is still not number crunched out of the Commander Masters main set. No Mercy from Urza's Legacy, down $302 to $21. Another good Commander card in several builds old and new, but it was reprinted recently in Dominaria Remastered and it has been soft since. Also too, still not number crunched out of Commander Masters. Gaia's Cradle from Urza Saga, down $335 to $889.98. This is retracting after a jump last week. It gets Legacy and Vintage play, plus it's in a number of different Commander builds, old and new. Mox Opal, the Double Masters copy down $218 to $78.97. The Scars of Mirrodin copy down $336 to $76. This continues to retract after some recent increases. It's in several Commander builds, old and new, plus it's a solid legacy and vintage card. It has been number crunched out of the Commander Masters main set. Jeweled Lotus from Commander Legends down $356 to $79.09. Huge Commander card in new decks and old ones, but now we know that it's getting reprinted in Commander Masters, so it is moving down. Dockside Extortionist from Double Masters 2022. It goes down $362 to $61.49. Another huge Commander card. It's in tons of builds, old ones, new ones around cards from Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth. It too, though, has not been number crunched out of the Commander Masters main set quite yet. Volrath Stronghold down $370 to $76.23. This gets a little Commander play, but it's another reserve list card sliding down. Yawgmoth's Will from Urza Saga down $409 to $182.41. This reserve list card hit an all-time high in the beginning of 2021, but it's been declining since, as speculators and resellers move out of collectible markets. It does get some vintage and a little Commander play. Deflecting Swat from Commander 2020 is down $418 to $47.41. Big Commander card in decks both old and new again. Many were anticipating that this entire cycle from Commander 2020 would get reprinted in Commander Masters, and those people were right because this has been officially previewed, as well as the rest of the cycle. Speaking of cycles that are in Commander Masters, here's Jet Medallion, and yes, the Medallion cards are all going to be reprinted in the set. This one is great for mono black Commander builds. The copy from the list is down $212 this week to $34. The Commander 2014 copy is down $427 to $33.52. Arachnogenesis from Commander 2015. This is down $427 to $53.99. This card's been seeing a lot of additional Commander play recently around a card from Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, Shelob, Child of Ungoliant. Originally, the hype around Shelob spiked this, and it has been retracting over the last couple weeks as more copies got into circulation after that spike. However, it keeps going down this week because we now know officially it is going to be in Commander Masters. Goblin Wizard, this is down $443 to $58.48, another reserve list card that hit its heights in early 2021. This sees a little Commander play but continues to decline as the collector's market changes. Your own personal tutor from Portal. It's down $462 to $46.44. This is still in decrease mode. This is a tutor that will deliver. For a long time, many have put this to the test in Legacy Doomsday and some Commander builds, but soon you'll be able to reach out and touch the first ever reprint of this card in Commander Masters, and that's why it's been cooling off. Archfiend of Despair from Battlebond, down $483 to $42.67. Good Commander creature and combo enabler, but it is being reprinted in Commander Masters. We now know that officially. They're also reprinting a card that combos with it, Scytheclaw. Lion's Eye Diamond, this is down $490 to $470. This reserve list card continues to retract and is now back to its price point from the beginning of 2021. Good Legacy and Commander card found in old and new builds there. Pearl Medallion, like I mentioned earlier, this is getting reprinted in Commander Masters, so it's cold. The Commander 2014 copy is down $352 to $29.99. The Tempest copy down $512 to $32.25. Great for mono white Commander builds, also in old and new decks in that format now. And here's another one, Ruby Medallion. The Tempest copy down $298 to $35.77. The Commander 2014 copy down $304 to $28.48. And the Commander Anthology Volume 2 copy is down $519 to $31.81. Not only is this one in a lot of mono red Commander builds, but it's also in Legacy Ruby Storm. Still going down though because of that Commander Masters reprint. Fierce Guardianship from Commander 2020. Another card from that cycle that is being reprinted in Commander Masters. It's down $531 this week to $48.75. It is a highly played Commander card in old and new decks, but again the reprinting is making it cool off quick. Deadly Rollick from Commander 2020. Another card being reprinted in Commander Masters from that cycle. It is down $570 this week to $31.33. Like the previous card, sees a ton of Commander play in a lot of different builds, old ones, new ones, including Lord of the Nazgul, but still can't hold its price with the incoming reprint. Atraxa Praetor's Voice from Commander Anthology Volume 2. This copy only comes in foil. It goes down $746 this week to $39.47. Wildly popular Commander. It's also in the 99 of new builds, old builds, but previous copies have been cold since Atraxa was reprinted in the March of the Machine Multiverse Legends subset. Also, technically not number crunched out of the Commander Masters main set yet. Normally I would say, well, it was just reprinted, probably won't be there, but cards like the Great Henge are showing up. Mana Crypt. Last week we saw the Mystery Booster copy moving down. This week Double Masters is down $847 to $168.99. Eternal Masters down $9.99 to $170. Remember, Wizards just sold more Mystery Booster Convention Edition boxes in the Festival in a Box Minneapolis 2023 Secret Lair, so there are more copies of this right now in circulation. It does get a lot of vintage play. It's a big Commander card though in many different decks, old and new, and it has not been number crunched out of the Commander Masters main set yet. Alright, yeah, we got cards going up too in this section. Shadow in the Warp. This is from the Warhammer 40k Tyranid Swarm Commander deck, and it is up $2.08 to $12. Really good Commander card for decks with expensive creatures like Dragon Tribal builds, so it's getting a good amount of play in the format. Canoptic Wraith. This one is from the Warhammer 40k Necron Dynasties Commander deck. It goes up $240 to $737. Now, this is getting more Commander play because it is a Wraith. Some are getting it to upgrade the Hosts of Mordor Commander deck, or put it in fresh builds around Lord of the Nazgul from there. It's also in builds in that format around a couple cards from the main set too though. Sauron the Necromancer, and Witch King of Angmar. By the way, search foil this card's jumping up too. Let's take a look. It's up $12.13 this week to $19.96. Falaji Wayfarer. This is from the Dominaria United Painbow Commander deck. It's up $2.72 this week to $3.94. The card is hot because a lot of players want to add it to a Commander build around a Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth card, Aragorn the Uniter. As promised, here's another revised dual land. It is Savannah. It is up $3.04 to $334.50. Treasury. This is up $3.46 to $52.69. This does see a little Commander play, and I have seen it in some builds around a Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth card, Sauron of Many Colors. It also gets a little pre-modern play, and that format has had a bigger impact on card prices lately. So here's an example of a reserve list card that's moving up. You do see them. Here's another one, Intuition from Tempest, up $350 to $169.99. Sometimes this is in the updated Legacy Omnitel builds with the Drechsler Grand Unifier. It also appears in a variety of Commander decks, including Aragorn the Uniter again, and it does see some play in pre-modern too. Tundra from Revised is up $388 to $459.44. Survival of the Fittest from Exodus is up $462 to $228.98. This is rebounding after some recent losses. It is found in several different Commander builds, and it also gets a good amount of play in pre-modern too. Martyr's Cry. This is up $4.99 to $14.30. Now this doesn't really see any play to speak of, but Alpha Investments did do a video this week showing a collection of the card that he had purchased from someone who was trying to buy it out. That extra attention brought some eyes to the card this week, so there's other players jumping in trying to grab some copies. Ultimately, we'll have to kind of watch and see where this one goes. The Horus Heresy. This is up $605 to $699. This is from the Ruinous Powers Warhammer 40k Commander deck. It is getting a big boost in Commander since players want this for their new Saga builds around a card from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, Tom Bombadil. In fact, this was in a Tolarian Community College video recently about building a Commander deck around Tom. Bayou from Revised. This one's up $649 to $426.48. Volcanic Island from Revised up $649 to $749.98. Sliver Queen is up $740 to $337.23. This reserve list legendary Sliver was spiking after the Commander Master Sliver Swarm Commander deck was announced. In recent weeks it has been retracting, but as the deck has been creeping closer, along with that new Sliver Commander that was already previewed, Sliver Gravemother, this card's been moving up again. It is a good Sliver Commander and in the 99 of Sliver builds there too. Mind Over Matter up $850 to $68.50. So this reserve list card does see a little Commander play, but it was moving down for a number of weeks after it saw an aggressive spike. The spike occurred when the One Ring was previewed because Mind Over Matter and the One Ring make a 2-card combo that will let you draw your deck. Now that the set is out, this has been moving up again for the last couple weeks. Maybe a little expensive casting cost wise for a CEDH combo, but I'm sure you're going to see somebody try this at the Commander table. In the Darkness, Bind Them. This is up $1433 to $1649. It is from the Hosts of Mordor Commander deck, and sure, it's in fresh builds around cards from there like Sauron Lord of the Rings and Saruman the White Hand, but it's also in builds around a couple cards from the main set, Sauron the Dark Lord and Tom Bombadil. Those are two very popular Commander builds right now. Basically, this is a saga that creates wraiths, so there are two groups of Commander players interested right now. Additionally, this was in that Tolarian Community College video about building around Tom that we mentioned earlier. And the last card today is Mox Diamond from Stronghold, up 3418 to 649. This is in a lot of legacy builds. It's in lands, Naya, and Golgari Depths, 4-color Loam, as well as Golgari Pox, and it shows up in a variety of commander decks, including a new one, Aragorn the Uniter. Additionally, this does get play in pre-modern too. That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch, or the Commander Masters Market Watch if you prefer. So over the coming days, and maybe even while I'm working on this video, there's going to be more previews. Remember, all the number crunch information came from the time of recording, so stay really close to that stuff if you're interested in picking up some of these cards. Until next time though, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.